If I say I'm Norwegian, what do you see? Oil? Fish? Polar bears? Okay, so to you, I might look something like this. But if you think of someone from an African country, what do you then see? This is a picture of my mom from 1956 when she was 6 years old. This year, she was cycling down the street. And for the first time in her life, she saw a black person walking down the street towards her. She was so shocked that she crashed her bike into a parked car on the side of the road. And she was fine, so don't worry about her. The man came and helped her up. What's interesting is why she reacted the way she did. Well, basically, when she thought of someone from an African country, she thought of this. She had grown up with school books and children's books showing a tribal, cannibalistic, exotic, and ultimately underdeveloped Africa. My mom told me this story with a bicycle when I was very young, and I thought it was really, really funny. But over the years, I've come to realize something that I think we all need to be aware of. We are all the same. Why? This is what I think. We have focused on our differences for so long that it makes it hard to understand and to relate to each other, to see each other as equals. For instance, when my mom was growing up, some countries in Africa were still colonies. European countries claimed to own African countries. England saw themselves as the rulers of Kenya. France meant it was their right to make decisions on behalf of Tunisia. Belgium even felt entitled to name a country in a completely different part of the world. Belgian Congo. I mean, that's pretty insane. Imagine if I arrived here in Münster today and I said, I call this land Norwegian Germany. You know, that's a pretty crazy thought. I think we need to move away from this way of thinking. The problem with seeing each other as substantially different is that we stop thinking that we are all the same. It becomes easier to accept that some people suffer because we imagine that we are somehow different from each other. That some people are just used to suffering. I can't help but thinking, but is this way of thinking alive today? What if all the old white men who are the most powerful leaders of our world today, it does kind of seem like all leaders are old white men. What if all of them have grown up with the same stories of Africa like my mom did? Maybe they think they're different from African leaders. They think they're better, that they're more clever, that they're more suited to make decisions than African leaders. It can seem that way when we have big financial institutions like the World Bank who basically decide financial policies for the whole world. And yet, they're pretty much just old men based in the US. Now, maybe this isn't a waterproof theory, but it does get me thinking of something my professor told me when I first came to South Africa, to Durban, to further my studies in development studies. Okay, for those of you who don't know, development studies is basically about how to save the world, nothing less. So, my South African professor said to me, "Why have you come here? To try and help us? You should go back to your own country. Look at what you're doing. Change the policies that you have in Norway." Ouch. Okay, so I did go back. And I have tried to change something, even though I haven't quite started the revolution that he wanted me to begin. Yet. I've joined this great organization, the Norwegian Students and Academics International Assistance Fund. And one of the things that we try to do is to change the negative stereotypes on Africa. Here's how we say it.
I'm basically heading up a team that's getting Africans together in this time of need for Norway, you know, helping them out. A lot of people aren't aware of what's going on there right now. It's kind of just as bad as poverty, if you ask me. Sunlight puts smiles on people's faces. People don't ignore starving people, so why should we ignore cold people? Frostbite kills too. Africa. We need to make a difference in Norway. We need to collect our radiators, ship them over there, and spread some warmth, spread some light, and spread some smiles. Say yes to RadiAid.
In Norway, kids are freezing. It's time for us to care. This heat's enough for Norway. If Africans would share.
Yet Africans keep thinking we can't contribute. The warmth they've got we'd like to share, but we can't distribute.
Now the tables have turned. Now it's Africa for Norway, and there's no way we can close our eyes. We see that they freeze. As Africans concerned, they're sending Jesus all the way. Radiate to Norway with a tropical breeze. In Africa.
Thank you. In the video, we wanted to turn things around to show that there are cool, hip youth, generous South Africans who, if it came to it, would really try and help us out with the cold that we experience in Norway. The idea came from my organization, but great people in South Africa and in Denmark have helped out along the way. There's been many unexpected twists and turns. For instance, all the pictures that you saw in the video are from Norway. They're real. They're from the Norwegian broadcasting company NRK. But when we asked if we could use pictures of children playing in the snow, looking rather chilly, like all Norwegian children do, NRK wouldn't let us because of their ethical guidelines when it comes to the use of images of children. To us, this is really fascinating because it's such a paradox. Almost all the real fundraising campaigns for African countries show images of children. Helpless, poor children, looking into the camera with big innocent eyes. They never had a say in whether or not they would be the face of a big fundraising campaign. According to renowned Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete. Like the things you thought about when I asked you about Norway, or the images that you saw in the video. It's not necessarily that they are untrue, but by no means do they show the full picture of what Norway is really like. In 1984, BandAid, the massive fundraising campaign to fight hunger in Ethiopia, it hit Norway like it hit the rest of the world. It intended to shock. Everyone heard Bob Geldof shouting, "Give me the money!" And in Norway, with our sudden oil boom, I think that a lot of people felt that, yes, of course, we must help. We have so much, while others have so little. These last few decades, there have been a bunch of BandAid-like fundraisers where celebrities from all over the world have joined in to help. But I think, even though the money they have fundraised, even though it has contributed to many good things, I think that these campaigns have destroyed something. I believe They have strengthened stereotypes. This repeated image of poverty, violence, and war, it comes to a point when we as human beings, we are unable to take it all in. They stop to shock us. And because of that, the message, it might get out, but it doesn't really get in. These campaigns, these stereotypes, they create apathy, not action. They enforce the differences between us. We need to educate ourselves, to go beyond the stereotypes. Then we can make good decisions and act based on our knowledge. One thing we learned with RadiAid is that it's good that we don't tell you what to think. With RadiAid, you create your own meaning. You think for yourself. But the best way of getting people to think is by making people laugh. Humor and surprise is great. It makes people let their guard down. It's like giving a gift. And if you give me a gift, I want to give you something back. So, using humor is important because contrary to using shock, humor challenges apathy. It gets your mind working. By using this gift that humor is, people start thinking for themselves without you even having to demand them to. It's a win-win situation. So if I can suggest something, the next time you see a fundraising campaign that only show images of poor, war-ridden African countries, think of my mom hitting that car with her bike. Boom! That should be a reminder to change perspective. Think, read up, act on it. Remember, we are all the same. Thank you.